Hello, and welcome back to the Misty Morrison Podcast. I'm your host, Misty Morrison, and this is episode 37 of Petty Please. Here on the Misty Morrison Podcast, we love to judge, we love to give advice, we love all the petty drama. Before we get into our stories for the day, our usual housekeeping, whether you are new or returning, please remember to engage with the content to help the channel grow. Whether you are watching on YouTube, listening on podcast, watching shorts on YouTube, TikTok, Reels on Instagram or Facebook, please engage, like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, comment with your thoughts on stories down below, all the things. All right, into our stories for the day. Story number 1 is coming to us from r/petty revenge. Complain about my grocery store? Then you will be pranked. This was quite a few years ago when I did backstock/receiving for a mom and pop grocery store. The family who owned were kind and not rolling in the dough. Definitely a community, quality before profits kind of place. The store had been around for generations, long before the lofts were built on the street behind us. The receiving dock was on this street, so we got early morning deliveries. Despite it being a bit noisy, we always tried to keep the volume down, and we never got complaints until this one entitled NIMBY loft dweller. He would come over to the bakery trucks and yell at them for their loud clanking of bread carts. Later, I found out he was blackmailing them/threatening to call in a noise complaint unless he got fresh bread or a treat. One day, I noticed him get out of his car, a Volkswagen Jetta, to complain. He had a for sale sticker with his phone number, which I took down. I flyered the neighborhood with his at least 10,000 car for sale for $100. Looking for a quick sale? Call me anytime. I also was one of the many people who would call him/then argue and complain about not being able to buy it for $100. He screamed, "I am so sick of getting these calls." Of course, I gave his number to the bakery trucks. Eventually, the guy disappeared, but I still called about the car every once in a while years later. That's dedication right there. Yeah, honestly, I probably would have tried to go farther with this than just aggravating him with the phone calls. That's good. Like, that's great. I'm glad you were able to do that. But he definitely should have been able to get into some kind of trouble for bribing the truck drivers. Story number 2 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. Robert Smith McStory. Hopefully this is allowed, as it's not my malicious compliance, but a story I can validate with my former classmates. I went to the same school as Robert Smith from The Cure a few years later, but the teachers remembered him well. My former tutor told us a story in class that stuck with me, as it sounded very him. I realized we only have her word for it, but she had no reason to lie. It was 1989 and The Cure were famous enough, but she wasn't the type to hunt for bragging rights. In fact, it was out of character for her to break cover. When he was in sixth form, year 12 or 13, he used to dress differently, as she put it. One time he came in wearing huge flared striped trousers. I think she said blue and white. A teacher pulled him up on it and said his trousers were too flared. The next day, he apparently came in with the same trousers but tied at the ankle to rein in the flare. She said they could not help to find it hilarious as it changed the style he may have been shooting for, but he looked like Andy Pandy, UK cultural reference, and just didn't care. It stayed with me as an inspiration for MC for ridiculous rules throughout my life. I never would have thought that could be a thing that you would get like dress coded for, your pants being too flared. Yeah, but I mean, he showed you he still wore the pants. Story number 3 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. Cargo gets priority. You got it, boss. Hello, I'm writing as it is happening right now. I work as a ramp agent in a regional airport in Europe. We've been suffering a worker shortage for years now, but it has finally become critical. We do not have any more of the personnel to operate all the flights. Our most paying customer is a famous cargo company who is really picky about rules and such. Plus, they want a really specific amount of workers under the flight. In order to cover for that, our boss told us if you are called for the cargo, just drop what you are doing and run to the cargo. They are our top customers. We have to give them priority. You got a boss. Today we have some sickness, so we had to pull everybody from all the other flights. The flight I'm currently under could have been finished in 3 minutes, and now it will be delayed by I don't know how long. Have fun with all the complaints from the other companies. P.S. English is not my first language. Sorry for the mistakes. Update, as of 0628, all doors were closed. Sally, the aircraft was supposed to leave at 0620, so the slot was lost. New slot will be at 7:04 LT, 1 hour delay. Update 2, it is malicious because what we used to do was to leave a guy behind with the ramp agent, me, to finish the loading. We are not doing that anymore because management said just drop what you were doing. And honestly, both the guys and me are pissed to always run and make an effort for garbage pay and to see more and more seasonal colleagues left at home because there isn't enough work, so that we have to always run and work unsafely. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that was malicious. I mean, you literally did exactly what they said, to the detriment of the rest of the customers. That's an unfortunate situation. Seems to be happening a lot more often these days, being short-staffed, being chronically short-staffed. Yeah, I wouldn't call that one malicious. Story number 4 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. Manager said only buy the planogram. This started several months ago. I worked as a DSD, direct store delivery driver, servicing bread and cake products for a certain yellow store chain. The style provides us a rack to display our cakes on, and it has a specific planogram. Despite this, it's generally agreed that each driver can use their own discretion to stock the shelf, including items not planned for the shelf. All except for one. The GM of my smallest store pulls me aside a few months back and complained about my cake rack. I've had several people complaining about the prices on that shelf being mismatched, and we're forced to honor the price on the shelf. This was a bit of an unusual complaint, but I was willing to fix it, saying, well, we can fix the pricing on that shelf, no problem. I'll just need you to scan the products and make me a tag, and I'll take care of putting them up. She immediately snapped back. You know that shelf has a planogram, right? How about we just stock it correctly? Very well. As they say, cue malicious compliance. I began stripping everything off the shelf that didn't match the tags on the rack, which meant I took everything away. The GM immediately started questioning why her most popular sales were being taken out. I just said, well, none of this is on the planogram, so I'll take it out and replace it with what's on there, like you said. Dejected, she leaves me to it. This compliance has paid off twice. First time, the same GM confronted me as soon as I arrived, advising me of holding out on her, commenting on all the nice cakes at a different location store she's never seen in her store. I reiterated that they're not on the planogram, so I can't put them in. She snaps back, well, can't we just put some in anyway? And I say with a smirk, not if there's not a spot for it, and she just tells me to carry on. This is what you wanted. The second time is when our imitation butter cookies rolled out. She begged me to give some to her store, and I asked if she had a spot for them. She says there can be room made, but I asked if there was a planogram for it. She gets mad and says, I'm tired of you using my words against me like this. I just want the seasonal stuff. And I tell her, admittedly, a little pointedly, well, it's what you said. I can't do anything about it. And she just limps off. She very well could have all the fun snacks if she would just stop being a helicopter manager. I like this. Stocking the shelf to meet needs or to meet demand is your job. It's your job for a reason. You were stocking it appropriately for that area with the things that were in high demand. People were buying them. And she just had to be a stickler for something that is not that big of a deal. She just had to be a stickler and be like, oh, well, there's a planogram. You didn't follow the planogram. And then she's confused when people aren't buying the good stuff anymore, when she doesn't have the good stuff on the shelf. You asked for this. You asked for this. I'm glad you maliciously complied so severely. And it certainly really did teach her a lesson to think about it a little harder before she decides to get onto somebody. I feel like I'm messing up more in my reading of these stories. I have the worst throbbing headache this evening. I don't know why. Probably because I ate lots of sweets, but I had dinner and I have caffeine now, so we really should be okay. Okay. Story number 5 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. Why aren't you informing the case in full detail? That's what my senior said when we got a query about stuff, why I didn't inform the theater anesthesiast about SAH and emphysema in the same patient that rendered both spinal and general anesthesia undesirable. I had no idea since I was the fresher resident out here. This lady was a silent person, but dumps all her allotted work on me, badmouths me for every small mistake, and seems like she doesn't talk just to me. All my friends never complained about her being silent. I tried telling her asking just the doubt is the best method. She didn't want to listen. I can't make heads or tails of what that sentence is supposed to say. Well, I got the excuse to info dump about cases I was seeing in anesthesia assessment, and info dump I did. Every time I phoned her to ask for doubt, I would tell her stuff in excruciating detail, wasting her and my time too. At first it seemed like she would fare, but she underestimated my nerdiness and at the end of the 5th case asked me to cut to the chase for future doubts. To be honest, I was pretty disappointed. Maybe it's because it was medical, but that was so hard for me to follow. Yeah, sounds like another helicopter manager. I really don't see where you were really malicious about it. I don't think it was. Okay. Story number 6 is coming to us from r/malicious compliance. IT wanted a ticket per subdirectory. I work for a power electronics tech company. The company has been in operation for about 40 years, and within the last decade got bought out by an American-based global conglomerate. And with them, they brought the local IT support team into their global help desk. What is my job within this vast international machine? I fix units that the customer breaks. They could be returned 2 months into warranty, or relics that haven't been looked at for 20 years and have been run into the ground by nonstop running. It was due to one of these abused legacy units that I needed to fix that led me to engage IT in Mortal Kombat, IT Help Desk Edition. I needed data sheets, circuit diagrams, and test procedure documents. Considering it was an out of production, barely supported legacy unit made during a time where design schematics were created using pencil and rulers, so not exactly sensitive corporate intellectual property. Anyway, I liaised with some of the veterans who were here since before Fred Flintstone was hammering out designs, and they point me at a legacy data store that got collected and stored within the terabytes of documentation within the company servers, and of course, I do not have access. Company/product/test/VCRM, something like that. I put in an access request with IT, and after a week, I get a response stating that after consulting with the global head of IT, they had approved access to company/product/test/VCRM/XR_series/. Well, that's great. It's not the product I had in front of me. Additionally, they had only given me access to that root directory and not all the subdirectories within. So really, I gained access to nothing except some folder names. I had already been delayed a week, so I fired back with as little sarcasm as I could muster, something along the lines of, okay, thanks a bunch, but I'll need access to the entire directory and all subdirectories within each product series. They reply, unfortunately, you'll need to submit individual tickets for each drive location due to IT policy and data protection initiatives. Well, all right then. You get what you ask for. After quickly confirming what they're asking, I start firing off tickets as fast as the shitty IT web client can process them. Copy plus pasting the same ticket. Copy and pasting the same ticket, the only change being the file paths. Firstly, for each subdirectory within the XR_ series, about 12 subdirectories, and then assuming the file paths are the same for the rest of the product ranges, I also start requesting access for each product range and each subdirectory. Of course, I decided to close my Outlook since every raised ticket would shoot 2 emails at me with ticket raised and ticket assigned. Also because I thought it would be funny if they couldn't get hold of me. My manager comes to talk to me saying it's time to stop winding up IT. They called him, apparently having so many open tickets would destroy all their metrics and KPIs. It turns out I was misinformed by the IT rep, and only 1 ticket would be required. Huzzah! Only took about an hour of data entry to upset IT enough into giving in. Maybe not as funny if you weren't there, but thought I'd share. I mean, this one was a little malicious because you went out of your way to request all the subdirectories from the, was it XRP? From the XR series folder. When it didn't seem like you needed the XR series, you needed the rest of them. Either way, this was great. And I'm glad really it only took an hour. That's pretty impressive. So that was a successful malicious compliance. Story number 7 is coming to us from r/entitled people. Entitled Thanksgiving guest wants to come by the day after and get some of the leftovers. Usually my husband and I travel for Thanksgiving, but this year there was a concert the day after Thanksgiving that we wanted to attend, so we stayed home and hosted a small Thanksgiving dinner for friends and family, 8 people total. I extended an invite to my cousin Janice, female 44, whom I rarely see or speak to, even though she lives less than 30 minutes away. Janice came. She arrived less than 5 minutes before I told her we were going to eat, and she left before we even had pie. She was on her phone during the blessing, and most of the time she was there. When she announced that she was leaving, I asked if she wanted a take-home meal, because I was going to have plenty of leftovers. She said, "No, not now. I'm not going home. I'm going to meet a friend at the movie theater." I thought this was a little rude, but I didn't say anything, and she left without really saying goodbye to anyone. Friday, late afternoon, early evening. My husband and I are heading out to the concert, and my phone rings. It's Janice. She wants to swing by the house and get some leftovers from the Thanksgiving dinner. I was totally gobsmacked. I told her no, we were already heading to the concert, and we were not home. She literally asked if we could come back so she could get some leftovers. She was miffed when I said, no, we are not turning around now just so she could get some leftovers. I told her if she wanted leftovers, she should have taken them when they were offered. I have not heard anything from any other family members, but I am sure I will at least hear from her mother, my aunt, but most of the family, including my aunt, already know that Janice has never been known for her manners. Also, I will not be inviting Janice to any other events that I host. Okay, that was definitely entitled. I wouldn't call it insane behavior, but especially because she is a cousin, I think. Is it a cousin? Yeah, your cousin, but you don't speak to each other. Like you rarely see or speak to them, even though you live close by to each other. And I could see it like if you were a close family, if you live nearby, if there were several people taking leftovers and she wanted to leave early, just being like, hey, I'll swing by tomorrow once everybody's got what they wanted and get some. I think if it was talked about, if it was agreed to, if you were close like that, that would be okay. But you guys are not close. Really doesn't sound like you would have spent time with her in any other circumstance. Is entitled to start with. It's entitled to start with because she thought she could just come back the next day and get what she wanted. No, you were offered food that day, take it that day. Like part of the whole point of people taking leftovers is so you don't have to pack them up and stick them in your fridge. At that point, you've already gone to the work. But that she had the nerve to expect you to turn around from your trip and come back to let her get them, that part's wild. Okay, story number 8 is coming to us from r/entitled people. Seatmate in a flight complained that I started eating my special meal before theirs arrived. Apologies, English is not my native language. On long flights, I pre-order a special meal online because I am vegetarian. On most flights, the flight attendant brings the special meals first and then start the normal meal service for the rest. On my last flight, a perfect stranger sat next to me and told me that I was rude and inconsiderate because I started eating my vegetarian food before their meal arrived. They said that it was basically rude. They said that it was a basic rule to wait until everyone in the row got their food, and that I ruined their flight. Their face was red and rolled their eyes several times. I stared at them. This is next level entitlement, right? We're not eating together on the same table in a restaurant. Yeah, that was weird. I mean, when you're at a restaurant, it is nice if everyone gets their food at the same time. If I was at a restaurant, I wouldn't expect anyone else to wait for me, though. For, like, if they got their food first, to wait for me, because then their food's going to be getting cold. I have had the experience where someone I'm eating with, their food will come out significantly sooner than mine, and they'll eat, and, like, we'll just keep talking, and they'll be done while I'm still eating, and we'll just keep talking. Like, it's fine. I I don't personally like to eat in front of people who aren't eating, but that's, it's different when you're in that setting, like a restaurant, when, like, the purpose of being there is to be eating. If someone comes to my office and I'm eating lunch, I would stop eating. Like, that would feel awkward to me. Probably nobody else cares, but that's just my preference. But yeah, expecting, like, complete stranger, doesn't know you. You just happen to be sitting next to each other on this flight and thinks that you're rude and their flight is ruined because you got your food first and started eating. That's crazy. Like, you're not traveling together. You're not having conversations. You just had a special meal. No, that would have been, I think it would have been more weird if you would have just sat there with your food, waiting for their food to come. You don't know this person. Very, very strange situation. Yeah, I agree with you. That was next level entitlement right there. Okay, that is 8 stories for this week's episode of Petty Please. That is us done for the day. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Misty Morrison Podcast, and I will see you next time. Bye.